society better. So that is the theme, reminds us how important it is to create a space for everyone can participate fully. Not only selected, not only privileged, everybody, including people with this disability, with dignity, inclusion, and makes our community stronger, fairer, more compassionate. We're truly glad to have our chief guest, Mr. John Samuel, is well known in the city across the India. He was the Postmaster General, ex-Postmaster General, and heads many organizations as a leader. He is in our midst. And also our board chairman is here, Mr. Tanglura Darlang, ex-IFS, ambassador to Romania, China, and Korea, various countries. And presently is a consultant to government, Ministry of External Affairs. And our keynote speaker, it's none other than Mr. George Abraham. He is there, he is well known, and he founder of Score Foundation, and he is the first one to initiate a cricket for the people with visually impaired. What a privilege such a person to be in our midst. And he is a board member of various organizations internationally and nationally. He is in our midst. So I'm also like to welcome our panel members, Geeta Mandalji, and we will introduce her a little later, and Mr. Shantanu Datta is having another panel discussion. So thank you for taking time. Thank you all our partners who are sitting here, and also partners who were helping us in the souvenir advertisement. And many organizations came forward and supported our cause. And with that money only we are going to implement the disability program. Our team will explain a little further. So once again, warm welcome to each one of you. And we look forward to an engaging, meaningful program ahead. And with this, I would like to introduce about Discipleship Centre. Discipleship Centre 1974. It has been started in Delhi, registered under Societies Act, and it has been, the founder was known for his rescuing 20 people in the Delhi floods at 1974. And because of that, the government recognized him, and he also brought a lot of money to India to do the relief work in Delhi, tsunami relief in across southern part of India, and Gujarat earthquake, and many other programs. So known for our relief and development program. Later we are ventured into community development program, which has across 25 states we had our projects, and also distributed across the states. And also Braille Computer Coaching Center for the visually impaired. So हमारा लगाव people with disability के साथ है. So ये छोड़ना नहीं चाहता हमारी हिस्ट्री को, इसको आगे बढ़ाना चाहते हैं. This is a wonderful moment to celebrate with our partners, remembering our history as well as the way ahead. The inclusion is one of the key things, because our survey says that 2% is the people with disability, but as per the records, the survey, different surveys says that 10% is the people with disability in India, even globally. But if the 10% of the people need to be served, it is the 90% of the people's attitude need to be changed. So while many of our organizations sitting here, you are working on the different disability, what Discipleship Centre does is how to bring the behavior change and attitude practices of the 90% of the people. How to make the inclusion possible for the 10% of the people with disability. That is the challenge before us. That's why this theme also very fantastic to connect with our this year's theme and our Discipleship Centre's mission. So looking forward to hear from various experts are there. We will have a two panel discussion. one panel discussion focusing on the sector-wise inclusion, how it will look like, education, health and nutrition, livelihood, and humanitarian response, how inclusion is possible. The another panel discussion we have today is on call to action. In the call to action is actually the people with the disability themselves coming and sharing about their challenges, the opportunities before them, what are the ways we can take action to include people with disability in different impairments. So that is the two sessions panel discussion we are having. Before that, we will have an inaugural program and also release the webinar. So thank you very much. Have a blessed day with us and enjoy the time over here.
Mr. George Abraham, sir, to give the keynote address. Let's all welcome him.
Where's the mic?
Yes.
Yeah, it's good too. Yeah. When a blind or visually impaired person comes to the mic, there are two things that he would want to know. He would like to know whether there are people in the audience, and number two, he'd like to know where they are seated. So let's go for it. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. So, okay, a few years ago, I was invited to moderate a discussion on inclusive education. The theme was inclusion, and this was at an organization called CASP Plan.
CASP Plan International.
Yeah, it is a partner of Plan International. So, for some reason, the whole program was delayed. And when it finally started, the organizers came to me and said, George, you are the moderator and we'll just give you 1 minute. And then lead the panel. So I said, that's going to be tough. But I said, nevertheless, let's take it as a challenge. So I started off by saying inclusion is basically space for all, contribution by all, opportunities for all, the recognition of all, equality for all, with dignity. And so what does it spell? S-C-O-R-E. Score. So I scored a point, and that also ended up to be my organization's name going forward. We work, our fundamental belief is that disability is not the real reason, it is the mindset. It is our thinking that actually comes in the way of inclusion. It's a mind that creates barriers, or it's our mind that prevents barriers from being removed. And it is our mind which is unconscious that there are people with disability in our community. And if you're looking at social progress and national progress, I think people with disability have to be part of it. They are also stakeholders in this whole ball game. According to the 2011, the total count of disability, categories of disability came up to 21. And this morning I was reading the newspaper in the Indian Express. There's an article written where they were talking about equal opportunities and equity for all people with disability, especially people with thalassemia, hemophilia, sickle cell disease, and so on. And the article says that yes, these disabilities have been included in the RPWD Act, but very little has been done in terms of their actual inclusion. The various aspects of these disabilities have not been understood, they have not been taken on board, and these provisions that the government offers do not address necessarily these the needs of these 14 new disabilities that have been added. You know, in October this year in Goa, there was something called the Purple Festival. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
Yeah, so I happened to be there and I had the opportunity of interviewing the 21 Purple ambassadors, each disability recognized by the RPW Act was appointed as Purple ambassadors for this particular festival, and I had the opportunity of interviewing each of them with the idea of knowing what these disabilities actually meant, what were the challenges they were living with. Professionals who are also dealing with the situation are unaware. They can look at medical options, but then there is a limit to medical options. In the case of blindness, there are certain aspects of blindness which can be treated by an ophthalmologist, but there are many conditions of eye which an ophthalmologist will just put his hand up and say there's nothing more we can do for you. And that's a very difficult situation. There is a lack of awareness in terms of what happens if the child has a disability, or suddenly at 35 somebody meets with an accident or has a disease or has some kind of a mishap and loses his sense of hearing or his eyesight or his foot or whatever. Very often the options open are not known to the people. Rehab services exist, but very often people don't know where it is available. So there is a general lack of awareness. One can speak for a long time about awareness because that's the area that I specialize in. I'm a communication professional by training, spent 10 years in advertising in the 1980s, and started my work in the area of blindness and people with vision impairment in 1989-90. So, and all the work I've done is to create awareness, and still, say 35 years down the line, I say awareness still is a major problem. So the nation is large, and new people coming in, people think of disability only when disability strikes. So that's a difficult situation. The second point I'd like to leave behind you with is that of access. Accessibility. We hear about accessibility all the time. Most common thing is accessibility to buildings. And when you talk about access, we talk about ramps. But there are various other aspects of access as well, where disability, each disability comes in with its own challenges. Now, access is not only about access to physical infrastructure. Access is also about access to systems, access to safe health, access to safe drinking water, all this, access to the washrooms. These are all very, very critical aspects which impacts people with disability. A survey was done some time ago wondering why women with disability don't go to schools. And one of the reasons was that there are no accessible washrooms or accessible toilets. So access is a very, very broad term. And another thing which excited me very much when Prime Minister Modi had announced Digital India was Digital India meant that most visually impaired people could access digital platforms. That was something that excited me, but excitement was very short-lived because I suddenly realized that people who developed the digital spaces were not aware and conscious that even people with visual impairment would potentially be their users. And in the process, they just...
What a special day, what a special movement called Discipleship Centre. I never in my life imagined that Discipleship Centre, which is 51 years old, and they have been much involved in many socio-economic development projects, including the disability project. So I must compliment and I must appreciate all the people who have been associated with the Discipleship Centre, and especially the CEO, one of my friends, close friend, Jake Mar. He has been my friend for many years, and then Mr. Darlong Tangura. We have been associated for many years again in various projects. I'm much excited to see Mr. George Abraham, the passion that he has, the energy that he has, and the enthusiasm that he has. That reminds us, we should do something for the people with disabilities, definitely. I would say that these are the most vulnerable people. Sometimes the government of India, or even on government of India, the society talks about vulnerable people. Yes, sometimes we say, but among the vulnerable people, I would say the most vulnerable people are people with disabilities. What does it mean? We need to walk extra mile towards them. They don't need anything else excepting that, can we provide some additional space to them? Can we give them dignity? Can we help them in terms of their development and progress? All of us know about the preamble of Indian Constitution, which talks about 4 foundational values, right? What are they? Justice, equality, liberty. Justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. And when we talk about fraternity, it says very clearly, fraternity assuring the dignity of the individuals. In fact, fraternity is an area probably not many of us talk about. We just say that justice, liberty, equality, we all talk about it. But fraternity is the one which binds all the Indians together. And if you want to have that kind of bonding together, I think dignity of the individuals is one of the fundamental things that's necessary.
Good morning, everybody, and greetings to you all on the occasion of the International Day of Persons with Disabilities. On behalf of the Discipleship Centre, it is my honor and privilege to extend warm greetings to each of you this morning. Today we gather to celebrate the strength, resilience, and dignity of persons with disabilities, and to reaffirm our collective commitment to building an inclusive and equitable society for all. This year's theme, Fostering Disability, Inclusive Societies for Advancing Social Progress, reminds us that true development can never be achieved unless every individual, regardless of ability, is able to participate fully in social, economic, cultural, and community life. Inclusion is not an act of charity. It is a matter of justice, human rights, and shared responsibilities. At Discipleship Centre, we have always believed that communities flourish when every person is valued. Our work with children, youth, women, and families in vulnerable settings has taught us that persons with disabilities bring unique strength, insights, and contributions that enrich society. Today we celebrate their achievements, acknowledge the challenges they continue to face, and commit ourselves to advocating for accessibility, opportunities, and dignity. I extend my heartfelt appreciation to Brother John Samuel, former Chief Postmaster General of India, also our chief guest today, and also I would like to acknowledge Mr. George Abraham, founder and CEO, SCORE Foundation, and our partners, supporters, leaders, and friends who stand with us in this mission. Your support strengthens us and our resolve and expands the impact we can make in the society. Let us all work together towards a future where inclusion is a reality, not an aspiration. Thank you and warm wishes to everyone gathered here.
In this period, we met and we connected with many institutions, organizations, and individuals. I would also acknowledge and dedicated staff who work tirelessly, and they already gone for various institutions and met with many individuals to ensure the smooth function of this campaign. Your commitment has made this successful possible. In behalf of Discipleship Centre, it's completed 51 years. I extended my sincere thanks to all well-wishers, donors for their generosity, encouragement, and trust. And lastly, I just want to say that every great journey begins with a single step, and today we take together the step. Thank you.
After hearing all that has happened, it reminds me of a phrase saying, "Nothing about me without me," or "Nothing about us without us." And that's exactly what Mr. Darlong also shared about. So in Keystone, there is one phrase that says, "The welfare of everyone lies in the welfare of each one of us." So there is nothing that can be done without each one being involved. And we are so much poorer because we have not included people with disabilities in our lives and in our communities. So what can we do? So now I would quickly move to the panelists, and we have Mrs. Rekha Kumari, who will be sharing about physical disability as well as women with disability, which is sometimes a double whammy in a culture like India. Then Dr. Gunjan Kumari, who is an assistant professor at Shivaji College, she will share about visual disability. Then Mr. Anuj Jain, who is the national convener of the National Association of the Deaf. He's also a national coordinator for ISL translation. He's the ISL translator for bridge connectivity and coordinator and advocacy expert for National Association of the Deaf. So there is a lot that he is involved with. And then we have Ms. Preeta Bhasin, who's the manager of customized employment in Ashish Foundation and an MA in psychology, who will be sharing about speech disability and what we can do to involve people with disabilities. So first, Mrs. Rekha Kumari, can we ask you to speak? I'll just give you the mic.
थैंक यू एवरीवन, आपने मुझे यहाँ पर ये मौका दिया। थैंक यू डिसेबल सेंटर और जय कुमार सर। हाँ सर, मैं बताना चाहूँगी यहाँ पर कि हाँ आज जो हमारे लिए जो हमारा दिवस है, वो दिवस हमेशा के लिए ही होना चाहिए कि हम हर एक इसी टाइम को सेलिब्रेट ना करके कि हमारे लिए ये खुशी का मौका हमारे लिए रहे कि हाँ हमारे लिए जो बैरियर्स हैं, जो बाधाएं बनाई गई हुई है, वो टूट गई, मगर वो अभी भी वो बाधाएं हैं। मैं अगर मैंने मास्टर भी किया है, मैं जागरूक भी हूँ, मैं लोगों को मोटिवेट भी करती हूँ, मगर खुद मैं अपनी लाइफ में ये चीज़ फेस करती हूँ। जब मुझे अपनी बेटी को लेने जाना पड़ता है स्कूल, तो मेरे सामने बहुत सारी रुकावटें आती हैं, क्योंकि मेरी जो स्कूटी है उसमें एक्स्ट्रा व्हीकल्स लगे हुए हैं, तो कई बार लोग रास्ता रोक लेते हैं, नहीं निकल पाती गाड़ी। अब मैं उनसे कितना बोलूं, कितना लड़ूं, ये बैरियर है हमारे लिए। और अगर मैं अपने इनकम सोर्स की बात करूं तो हाँ, अगर मैंने पढ़ाई की है तो अगर जॉब नहीं लग रही है तो अपना फैमिली को कैसे सपोर्ट करूं? अगर प्राइवेट सेक्टर में जाती हूँ तो वो भी उन्हीं लोगों को देखते हैं कि ये वर्क कर सकती है नहीं कर सकती है, ये चल सकती है कि नहीं चल सकती है। काफी चीज ऐसे हैं कि मेरे सामने आई है और इसलिए मेरे लिए वो चीज रुकावट बन जाती है। अभी जॉब फेयर पे भी मैंने सोचा कि चलो मैं एक्सपीरियंस करती हूँ कि क्या क्या होता है जॉब फेयर में। मैं फर्स्ट टाइम गई तो कुछ कंपनियां थी बहुत अच्छी थी, मैं सोचती अगर इसमें अच्छा इनकम सोर्स निकल जाए तो अच्छा, मगर उन्होंने भी यही चीज कहा कि अगर आप 40% डिसेबल होते तो शायद हम आपके लिए सोच सकते। और आप सोचिए ना, आप कैसे इतना दूर आओगे? तो ये चीज हमारे लिए पहले बता दी जाती है कि आप कैसे आओगे, कैसे करोगे। हाँ, बहुत सारे इश्यूज है। और जब महिलाओं का ये भी देखा जाता है कि उनके लिए स्वास्थ्य सेवाएं नहीं है अभी भी, कि उनको अगर उनकी मैरिज हो गई है तो अगर वो प्रेग्नेंट होती हैं तो उनको किस प्रकार अपने रूटीन चेकअप के लिए कैसे जाएगी वो, अपना वेट कैसे करवाएगी वो। मैंने खुद, अगर मैं कैलिपर पहन लेती हूँ तो खड़ी होकर मैं वेट करा सकती हूँ, मगर उसका कैलिपर का भी वेट आता है। और कई बार ऐसा होता है कि हम नहीं कर पा सकते, कैलिपर नहीं पहन सकते, गिरने का डर होता है, मगर फिर वही है कि हमको फिर बैठ के करना पड़ता है। मतलब बहुत सारी चीजें हैं कि अब मैरिज के बाद मैंने बहुत फेस करना पड़ रहा है मुझे, कि अभी भी बहुत सारी वेरियंस है कि मुझे उस चीज तक नहीं पहुंच पा रही। और आज आप लोगों के सामने मैं यही कहना चाहूंगी कि आप इस चीज, अगर सरकार नहीं कर पा रही है इस चीज के लिए हमारे लिए, तो आप हमारी इस समस्याओं को उनके पास रखिए, आप हमारे लिए इस काम कीजिए। क्योंकि मैं उस खुदावन यीशु का धन्यवाद करती हूँ कि उसने मुझे हमेशा एक जो पार्टनर दिया है, उसने मुझे बहुत सपोर्ट करता है। वो चाहे वो बच्चों से हो, मुझे हो, मतलब उसके लिए 3 बच्चे हैं, मैं भी उसके लिए बच्ची हूँ, वो मुझे भी उस प्रकार से ट्रीट करता है जैसे मैं उसकी बच्ची होंगी। मुझे गोद में उठाना, जहाँ पर जो रुकावट होती है उस चीज को वो फेस करने ही नहीं देता कि तब मैं खड़ा हूँ ना, मैं तेरे पैर हूँ। तो उसके बाद मेरे को नहीं फील होता कि हाँ मैं हैंडीकैप पर्सन हूँ। मगर मैं अगर लोगों को, जैसे कि अभी यहाँ पे एक लड़की बैठी हुई है, समिता नाम की लड़की, मैं उसको हमेशा पुश करती रहती हूँ कि बेटा तुझे आगे बढ़ना होगा, क्योंकि हमारे साथ कोई खड़ा नहीं होता। ठीक है, पढ़ाई तूने अगर 10वीं करी है तो अपने लिए खुद खड़ा करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि मम्मी पापा भी एक टाइम तक वो भी कहते कि हमसे नहीं हो रहा, तुम हमारे लिए बोझ हो। तो अभी उस लड़की को मैंने यूआईडी के पॉइंट्स बताए कि यूआईडी बनवा, विकलांग सर्टिफिकेट बनवा, अगर तूने 10th पास कर ली है तो जॉब फेयर्स होते हैं, कोशिश कर, कहीं ना कहीं तो तुझे जॉब मिलेगा। कई संस्था में उसको ऐड करवाया कि इसकी हेल्प हो। तो ऐसे कई लोग हैं कि जिनको मैं मोटिवेट करती हूँ और उनको बताती हूँ कि आप पढ़ाई कर लो और थोड़ा बहुत इनकम सोर्स आए आपके पास, आपकी पेंशन लग जाए, कम से कम आपको अपनी फैमिली पे डिपेंड तो नहीं रहना पड़ेगा। तो इसी प्रकार मैं उनको मोटिवेट करती रहती हूँ और उनको थोड़ा सा बताती हूँ कि जो हमारे लिए सरकार ने किया है कम से कम आप उसको तो लो, अगर आपको जब मिल रहा है। तो मैं बस आपसे यही रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि आप जो हमारे लिए कर सकते हैं, जो बाधाएं हैं वो थोड़ा हमारे लिए थोड़ा बहुत हमको करने की जरूरत है। बाकी थैंक यू सो मच।
Dr. Gunjan to speak.
Okay. Very good afternoon to all of you. This topic is very close to my heart. As I live this life, I'm also a stakeholder, and a lot has been said about disability, visual disability, and other sectors of disabilities, other spheres of disabilities. To start with, see, I noticed a lot of things here. When I was listening to everyone, as I am an avid reader and also a great listener, I can call myself a great listener because this is the only sense, this is one of the senses which enables me and which makes me capable to go forward in my life. So I was listening to all the speakers, and the words that came across, they were so contradictory. Like people said, we have to serve, we are vulnerable, we have to walk an extra mile to help, and all those things. They are not bad words. They don't mean anything bad. The intention is all correct. But look at the terminology we have internalized. So I want to just start by saying that inclusion should not be considered as an act of charity. it should not be considered as an act of sympathy or kindness. It should rather be seen as a right grounded in dignity and equality. So this is how I want to start, and there are multiple things that I want to talk about. Where do we start from? There are so many things, and it's quite abstract as at the same time quite diverse. So if I start with, I want to look at the whole idea of inclusion of people with visual impairment from the lens of Maslow's need of hierarchy. So let's start with the very initial part, like food and shelter, that when we get those things, most disabled people, they get as an act of charity. Alright, so that confidence is already gone. The next most fundamental rights, one of the most fundamental rights is safety and physiological environment. There also, see, you heard George sir already, how he was talking so animatedly, and I've been hearing, sir, if you're still here, I've been listening to you since my childhood, and yeah. So, alright, so we, as much as we acquire skills, as much as I want to advance myself in technology and everything, I should have told a little about myself, that I am working as assistant professor, as ma'am already told, and I'm quite independent. I came on my own, booking my cab. I paid through UPI, but when I got here, I didn't know where to go. I'm just giving you one example, because there are so many gates. I don't know whether I'm standing at the right gate. There's no queue, nothing to help, and eventually I had to call Jayakumar sir to send someone to help me. Right, so I'm just giving an example that as much as we try to acquire skill, if the society does not try to overcome the construct called disability, we are nowhere to go. We have nothing to achieve. So inclusion is something which is, why we talk about inclusion? Obviously, because there's a chain of exclusion, right? So all of us, we will have to think about it. I'd like to come over to next thing, that is belongingness. Now, where do we have the sense of belongingness? As much as I struggle. Usually people have seen, I don't know about, obviously I know about others with disabilities. जैसे कि अभी मैम बोल रही थी, रेखा मैम, I think she was saying that हमारे साथ कोई खड़ा नहीं होता. Actually, I agree with her, because the society leaves it to us to achieve the goal we want to. It's all our own thing that we have to do. So the society doesn't hold itself responsible. I'm not saying that nothing is happening, but most of us have, if we actually want to some extent, we'll be supported, we'll be fed, we'll be provided with food and shelter and minimal job skills, as some of the panelists were saying in the previous panel. But if we want to achieve an extra mile, we have to be responsible for ourselves. So there's no sense of belongingness. It is due to stigma, sometimes overprotection also. It's not always bad intention, overprotection also, and which leads to isolation. So let's say I want to go to a mall myself. I just want to go myself. I don't want to go with anyone else. I can reach there, but what happens after that? Will I be able to access all the showrooms? There's nothing. So there's no train staff. Delhi Metro is again one example. So I'm saying that I want to access all the public places. I want to access all the public services like banks, hospitals, any other institution. I can reach there, yes, but after that, what happens to us? We are left to someone's pity, and next day the same person meets me and says, "Oh, do you remember? I was the one who helped you." So why? It's good to befriend someone, but if one comes to you and says that मैं ही था जिसने आपकी help की थी, आपको याद है? So how would you feel? So those things can be very easily avoided if we ensure that people with disabilities, people with visual impairment, live with dignity. For that, we have to just take minimal efforts, minimal efforts. I believe that holistic skill development is also very important. Like education is still taken care of to some extent. Right. Though the data is quite appalling, and if I go into that, we will completely digress. So I'm not going into that. But people still think of academic development. Do we think of teaching people with visual impairment holistic skills? Like, do we teach them personal grooming, social etiquette, stable manners, hospitality, all those things? Are we teaching them professional etiquettes? Why are we not teaching them? When we look someone, with people with visual impairment eating with hands in a very bad manner, instead of teaching them, everybody just leaves the person behind, right? So it acts as a repellent. So why not ensure that such trainings are provided to people where they don't have to depend on someone to either help or be repelled and leave them? So I think holistic development is also required along with education, which is certainly one of the most important and most fundamental needs. I also believe that we have to think of the board, like out of the box also at times. There are some identified jobs and identified area where we are supposed to be educated and supposed to be working. What about law? People are there in law, but there are not many. But I have not seen anyone in management. I have not seen anyone in hospitality. We can very easily work on stem cell. We can work on many other areas. But are we facilitated enough? If we had been facilitated, I'm sure I would have been one of the science students. But I chose literature, not that I hate it, but I chose literature because that was the second option for me, because science was not provided to us at that time. Even now it's not being provided. I'm from Patna, and I've traveled from Patna to Delhi. I came to JNU and then completed my PhD. I typed everything on my own, sir, just want to tell you. So I'm saying that it takes a lot of courage and a lot of effort on our part to be on par with everybody. But if inclusion is ensured, I think all of us can walk together, and it is not only the responsibility of people who are not disabled, it is our responsibility as well. But one point, I'm sorry I'm taking a lot of time, but just one point, that there are things which people have internalized, we have internalized. So you were talking about scribes, right? And I understand this is a grave issue. But I also believe that all of us are responsible. Let's say if a blind person, usually teachers, employers, and everybody has very low expectations from us. Even though they call us Divyang, I sense it is an act of sarcasm, act of satire, and not really what they mean, right? So though they call us Divyang, actually they have very low expectation from us. Let's say if I open my bottle and drink water without dropping it, they'll say, wow, kitna ekdam brave hai. So this is the expectation that the society has from me. So in that case, why won't they internalize this idea कि मुझे कुछ नहीं सीखना? Because people are anyway praising them, right? So why not take responsibility? I'm not saying that they are great, but I think we have to work on ground level to understand why the things are the way they are. So I think these are some of the things that we have to take care while considering call to action. Thank you so much.
When my father passed away, when he died, there was an Uthavani in the Jain Mandir. We had to go there. My wife is deaf, I'm deaf. I have some uncles who were there. The men were at one side, the women were at one side. There was a sermon that was going on, and I was looking for an interpreter, so I called my nephew, and then they were like, no, you cannot have an interpreter, it's a sin, it's not a good thing, this is a temple, you can't have this. And I was like, no, this is my father's death ceremony, I will have it. And my family kept saying, no, you can't do it. And I was 37, can they say that I will slap you if you do this? No, they cannot, right? So I made the interpreter stand there, and we continued this whole thing. And everybody was, they would look at the sermon, the Pandit who was giving the sermon, they would look at the interpreter, then they would look at me. This was everybody was just passing looks. And recently then my sister also lost her husband, and we had death ceremony, and then in the funeral, there was the pandit who was saying lots of things, and I told her that we need an interpreter for that also, and she was like, no, 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 it's okay, and we forced her and we made that happen, and she was happy to hear the sermon. And even at weddings, like when we see at weddings, people are taking farahs or they have their vow exchanges, people are laughing, enjoying, getting emotional. Shouldn't we be a part of those things too? Be it any religion, be it any ceremony or anything, interpreter should be there as well, because otherwise, like if you keep thinking that it's related to sin, then you think that disability is a punishment when it's not. We know that, right? It's an attitude problem, and that's something that we need to change.
I am. Talented. I do have challenges. I go out shopping. I until speak in sign language. And now I don't agree. I swear. Please say, please speak. I don't know how to speak. For a few years, he came to know new concept. I am go deep into sanity. No, we need to learn to struggle. And act for me the so-called neurotypicals. Thank you.
We come together and we talk in isolation. I think to create awareness, I can talk for churches. So churches, even when we do the intercession, I'll be the one who will be including persons with disabilities. But it goes back, it gets like people don't continue this for the next intercessions. Because they give importance to the general neurotypical people, but not to children with disabilities or persons with disabilities. It just goes off because they don't think it's tradition. Even in churches and even in organizations, sorry to say, even in here also, like she doesn't have the access directly to go there, and people don't have access directly to go near the altar. So I think we need to create this kind of awareness for a start, maybe in the religious places. And when we talk, people come, the general public come, because most of them, they don't even have the understanding between, when I say intellectual disability, they say, physically, they say, which is visible. So intellectual disability, they don't even know the difference between that, and also we don't know how to react or interact with persons with disabilities. So more knowledge or awareness creation should be done within the, I think for a start from the religious places, that will be a great, instead of going and banging our heads with the government, maybe here we can do something which will be a practical thing. That is a call for action, I would say. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the call for